Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Chase here at Rocky Mountain, and look who I have today. Mr. Aden Keefer himself. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Dude, we are having the best day riding our dirt bikes today.
It's always a good time riding a dirt
We're
bike.
at Mesquite Motocross track, fresh prep track, private ride day. You couldn't ask for anything better. But hey, I grabbed Aden today because Aden's shredding. And I've noticed in the last couple of years, Aden went from what everyone would think was probably just a really good like C-class rider, and I'm talking like national C-class rider where the C-class kids rip, right? But I feel like Aden took a big jump, and now he's in that upper echelon of the B-class, looking to go up to the A-class soon. And I just want to get your feedback, Aden. Like, what have you done as an amateur that you feel like is kind of give you that step up as far as your bike skill and your speed overall? Because I feel like you just took a big jump in the last couple of years. So give us your 5 things that you would tell other amateurs that you've done or that they should work on to help them progress.
So my 5 things would be, number 1, figuring out what your training program is on and off the bike. That's a really big help going to the track, knowing what you're going to do, and then also off the bike, knowing what you're going to do with the gym work or cycle, like that. A riding coach. I worked with Budman this
Number
past
2,
year.
riding coach? Okay.
I worked with Budman a bunch this past year. And also riding with people in general helps, so that'll help. Number 3 is bike setup. Sometimes it may not always be the rider that is complaining about some. It might just be your bike setup. So I feel like trying to have someone help you, or maybe asking your suspension guy to go out and test with you, maybe, if they're willing to do that. The 4th thing would probably be race. That is the biggest one, I feel like, just because you're learning from other riders that are faster than you. And just getting gauge ups in and just learning in general is probably the best. Number 5 would probably have to be your technique. That's big one, is learning when to stand up, when to sit down, use your front brake, your rear brake. And then like today, for example, Marshall told me some things that I never really knew how to do.
Marshall Welton, by the way,
Marshall
who's
Welton.
shredding.
There it is. He's over there. But no, he taught me some things today that I didn't know, and I put him into the moto today, and it helped.
Yeah, he was just following you around the track, and then when you guys pulled off, he was like, hey, you can be better here, here, and here.
Yep.
And those are areas where you probably thought, dude, I was railing that turn, or I thought I was doing that correct, and he's seeing it, and he's like, I'm kind of creeping in, because I'm like, well, I want to know what Aden's doing wrong, because I'm definitely doing it wrong if Aden's not doing it right. So I was like, well, I probably suck too. So, I was listening to that, and then kind of expand a little bit on the bike setup thing. Your dad's helped you a lot with the bike setup.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, people talk about stock suspension, but when you progress, you get to a certain speed, like, you really do need to have your suspension set up for you. It's not, a lot of times it's rider technique, like you were saying, it's not the bike's fault, but it does get to a point where the bike's hindering you to a point, so it's always important to do that. I did want to ask you a little bit, like, the dieting or the off the bike program. So you actually were doing troll training with that, right?
Yes.
And so, like, just expand a little bit on that. What was he doing that made it easier for you? Was it just like, hey, you're riding the bike this many days a week for this long, and like a little bit more info on that?
It's mainly knowing what you're gonna do. You're not waking up in the morning and go, well, what am I gonna do today?
I guess I'll go for a bike ride today.
Exactly, and then not knowing what your heart rate zones are gonna be. So that really helps. Also with riding too, like, there'll be days where me and my dad will just go ride and not really do motos. So just time on the bike, knowing what you're going to do, really helps.
Did that overall, like the troll training thing, really help with your stamina?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I filled out a bunch when I started training with Alex and John over there. I feel like I got a lot stronger. I can move the bike around a little bit more. So, yeah.
Okay, well, there you have it. Those are Aden Keefer's top 5 tips for amateurs looking to progress. So we talked about a training program for on and off the bike, riding coach, have somebody there. Even if you don't have a riding coach, find somebody like you did today, Marshall Welton, who's a really good rider, have them critique you. Knowing your bike setup, know how to adjust your suspension, your clickers. I've done videos where I walk you through what each one does. Aden's dad, Chris, has done podcast after podcast talking about suspension adjustment. So if you don't know, find sources to learn what your suspension clickers do. Get your suspension revalved if you have to. And then you talked about too, get gate drops. Do as many gate drops as you can. And then last but not least, just practice technique. Last thing I will say is I noticed today, your dad's a little bit more old school. I noticed he was sitting down way more than you were. Chris, your dad sits down through some of these rough sections that are high speed that I'm just like, I don't know how he does that. Like, his butt must be so chafed. But you were standing up a lot more, standing up all the way through a corner to the hook where you'd sit down and drive through. Is that something that you really had to like work on?
I mean, not really, to be honest. So before I even started riding dirt bikes, I rode a trials bike and I rode BMX a bunch. So I feel like that's where I got most of my standing up technique, was just from that. And also nowadays, just watching YouTube and getting to learn from other riders.
Watching Jet, Tomac, and those guys.
Exactly. I feel like that helps a lot too. Just literally typing on your keyboard videos of Eli Tomac riding or Chase Sexton or Jet, and just watching and then putting it into your riding helps a bunch.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, Aden. Again, thank you so much for
Thank you.
doing this video. It was completely, Aden was not expecting to do this, so shout out to him for stepping up and doing this. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Rocky Mountain YouTube channel. Remember, go check out KeeferIncTesting.com. Chris Keefer has an awesome podcast. He does testing on parts, bikes, apparel, all the good stuff. So go check that out. I am Chase the Rocky Mountain, and we'll see you on the trails.
See you guys.